Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Whether you're tuning in on the radio dial here in Mississippi at WYAD, we welcome you all back to our program. Also, those tuning in through our online affiliates around the world, including our iHeartRadio family. We're glad to have all of you with us as well. I was just saying to our next guest, it's hard to believe, but it's been 4 years since the last time that she was on our program. At the last time I spoke with author and recording artist Deborah Hightower, we were talking about her project called Love, and she has definitely been living a life not only of purpose and passion, but also sharing the love for what she does and also being able to inspire other people along the way. We're welcoming her back this year to talk to us not only about the amazing journey that she's been on, but what it's been like for her to walk in her own purpose, but also to inspire and motivate other people to do the same thing. If you're just hearing about Deborah, we'll tell you at the end of our segment how you can stay connected with her. But Deborah, hello to you and welcome back to the program.
Hello there. It is so good to be back. I cannot believe it has been 4 years.
4 years. And like I said, we were talking, and the way I know, thanks to the internet, I was able to go back and listen to our last interview together, Deborah. Of course, we were talking about, at that point, your book and your project called Love. And, you've been so busy in that amount of time, and it's been great to be able to stay connected with you online. What has that reflection been like for you, Deborah, to not only to think about all that you've been able to do, but also the lives you've been able to touch over your career?
Sometimes I just take a step back, and in my morning meditation and my gear up for the day, if you will, I think back about the journey. And my journey has been, I would say, a little unique in that I am in corporate America, and that has really influenced the ability to do these other things. So when people say, I just want to do this one thing, and I do think that there is an underlying passion that everybody has, something that they really, really love and something they want to focus on, but sometimes our circumstances lead us down a different path. And I think we have to be so open to living in the moment, living our path, change it if we don't like the way it's headed or we'd rather do something else. But I think the bottom line to what has made me successful is to embrace all of the differences in the path. There's so many ways to get where you're going. And if we are so determined to stay on one path without being open to change, I think we really sell ourselves short. And Thomas Merton is a person who has a lot of written material. He is a monk. And, one of the things that I find inspiration from him and a lot of other people, you read a lot, Cyrus, I read a lot. Right. So, we can bring all of those things together to help us along our path. And one of the things that he says is the biggest human temptation is to sell ourselves short. And that has so resonated with me because I'm an optimistic person. I wake up every day optimistic about what the day will bring. And I think it's just so important that we don't sell ourselves short. Whatever that path, you can still get where you're going, but we should enjoy every moment of it and not be afraid and to step out with boldness.
Yeah. You said two things I want to definitely dive into a little bit, Deborah. One of them is taking out the time. I have been trying my best, especially over the past 2 years when things seem to be moving a lot quicker for me, to kind of celebrate those little things. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I find, and I've been guilty of this myself, is you think about the quote-unquote big things in your life and what you've accomplished. And if you don't make those big things happen, you feel as though you did not succeed. How important has celebrating the small wins, the little things, the small milestones along the way, how important has that been for you?
Very, very, very important. And I always say, there is a point B. We're always striving toward that point B. But in between the point A to the big point B, there are a lot of other little point A's and point B's. So while the big picture may still be there, I think it's so important that our little point B, which is our immediate win, something that we really love, something that, has happened that has sort of spurred us on and given us inspiration, that becomes the new A. So sometimes I think we look at where we are right this moment as the big point A, and then we see way down the road our big point B. And if we only stay focused on the big point B, we miss all the other little things along the way that give us inspiration. For instance, inspiration from me can come out of nowhere. If I'm sitting down and I'm still, my mind will go into a million different directions, and I may sit there forever with my fingers on the keyboard and not be able to type any coherent anything. But then if I'm driving down the road, or I see the headline, or I pass by a magazine rack and I see something that catches my eye, those things inspire inspiration too. So if we're not paying attention, if we have blinders on, and we're not paying attention to the little things that are before our eyes every day, we miss an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is so true. And there's so many different ways that you've been able to touch other people's lives, of course, Deborah, in your person-to-person work that you're able to do, but also in social media, which is one of the big ways, of course, that you and I have been able, which is why I guess it doesn't seem like 4 years ago since we last spoke, because we stay connected with each other on social media. You shared two things on Instagram that I want to be able to share with our audience, and I think will be great for them to think about as they're looking at their own lives. And one of the posts is one that you made on January the 5th as we're beginning the new year, and it was a great quote, and it said this: "Today I choose to be the best version of myself." And I think, for a lot of people, one of the big things that happens is that we're so busy looking at other people and comparing ourselves to other people. How important has that message been for Deborah to make sure that you're being the best person that Deborah Hightower can be?
Well, I really think that we all have to have that personal time, our personal development time, our professional development time. And without that, and it almost has to be inked in the calendar. For me, it can't be penciled in, because if you pencil it in, it won't get done. It has to be inked in. And I have to really be brutally honest with myself about what I want, what I am equipped to do right now, how I need to become equipped to get to the next goal. And you have to be brutally honest with what you want and who you are and what your strengths are. I don't spend a lot of time on weaknesses. We all have a lot of weaknesses. I have a lot of weaknesses. But at the same point, we have a lot of strengths. And if we spend all of our time saying, well, I'm not really good at blah, 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 and we're not spending the time on what we really are good at, in my opinion, we're wasting time. I spend very little time on things that I'm not good at, because I know that my success and my contribution to society and helping other people lie in my strengths.
Wow. And that strength is something that has been able to help other people as well. And it ties into the second thing I wanted to mention from your social media, Deborah, and I mentioned to you before we went on here that one of the things that we definitely want to talk about is the role of your faith. Of course, that has come through, and your music has come across in the work you've been able to do in books and speaking. You did a great post and shared this on Instagram at the end of last year, December 2017, and the meme said, "Your faith can move mountains and your doubt doubt can create them. Again, another thing, especially for people of faith, we know this, we know it, but still we allow ourselves to get in a place where we end up doubting whether something is possible, whether we can do something, or we let someone get in our head and to tell us what we can and cannot do. Talk to us about the role of your faith and how, especially as you look at what you've been able to achieve, both personally and professionally, Deborah, how your faith has helped you get there.
Oh, faith is everything. It's the foundation from which I build everything else. One of my favorite Bible verses is Ephesians 3:20, and it is, to him who can do exceedingly above and beyond anything we can even think to ask. And when we have a foundation, we have faith in something. It's God, it's in ourselves, it's something. So for people who say, well, I'm not really religious and I don't do all of that, religious has nothing to do with faith, in my opinion. It's a spiritual thing. It's a connection. It's a foundation from which we build everything. And I'm one of the most optimistic people ever. Things can be looking like a whirlwind, and I will say to myself and to others, well, that really did not turn out the way I thought it would, so let's just see what can we learn from it and how can we be better next time. Because my faith is what tells me that every day when my feet hit the floor, and really even before, because I have sort of quiet time when I first wake up before I even get out of bed in the mornings. But that is what helps me say, okay, Deborah, we have a new day. Thank God for a new day. And every day I enter that day with thankfulness and gratitude and with the faith that I know that a path has been designed for me, and all I have to do is put one foot in front of the other and walk it. And, that sounds so easy when things are not going well in whatever, your personal life, your finances, your business, whatever it is. But if we keep the faith, we'll come out on the other side. And the way we come out may not be exactly what we had expected or planned for, but it will make us better people. Through all the twists and the turns and the gullies and the ditches, it will make us better people. And then that becomes our story. And then our story helps other people say to themselves, well, I thought it was only me. And it's really not, because we are so alike. And society will have us thinking that we are more different than we are alike. And you know what? I just don't think that's true. I don't think it's
totally
true.
Agree.
And if we go back to a foundational component of faith is love. So if we can love ourselves, love God, love ourselves, and then love others, so many of the little things that seem to be a hindrance and seem to drive us apart and make us too different to even understand that person or that situation, all of that goes away if we approach it with love.
For sure. It's a great point. We're going to pick up on that point of love, Deborah. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We are so excited to welcome back to our program today best-selling author and recording artist, Deborah Hightower. We're talking to Deborah not only about the amazing journey that she's been on over the years, for what it's been like for her to use her platform to be able to motivate and inspire others, as well as what has been able to feed her as well, to make it easier for her to be able to do the work that she's doing. You mentioned love, and I think it's very obvious in anyone who follows you, Deborah, that you love what you do, you love people, you love to be able to be of service. What is it that helps you, though, to stay replenished? You mentioned a couple of times here about the quiet time. Is that one of the things that's become necessary for you to make sure that you're at your personal best, being able to take that time to refill in the mornings?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes during the day as well. It's just that quiet time, and it doesn't have to be, 45 minutes. It can be 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute of just a deep breath and say, okay, let me get myself together for a moment. And, for me, being grounded in faith, I have inspirational quotes. As you see on my Instagram page, I have Bible quotes. I find inspiration from a lot of different sources, and that fuels me. It may be a Thai monk who has said something that I said, you know what, that is very powerful. So it could be a quote from, just a newspaper article or a magazine article that just sort of spurred me on, and that gives me the energy and the optimism to carry on.
Right. I think an obvious question for people who look at you, Deborah, and who, of course, we always see you smiling. We always see you in a good place. Was it an easy thing for you to be comfortable in your own skin? Because I think, we all have, heard or read the scripture, to whom, much is given, much is required. Has it always been easy skin for you to walk in?
Oh, no. I think everybody goes through these phases in their life where they grow into who they are. And I think it happens for some people, sooner than others. I've always been an optimistic, smiling face kind of person. On the inside, I would be a little nervous and say, my gosh, what are people going to think about A, B, or C? And I would say I really started growing into who I am in my 20s. And I think that's common for a lot of people. And then you just sort of excel into it in your 30s. And then the time after that is just exponential. And I think, especially for women, we are so concerned with what the magazine covers look like. And as I, just sort of joke about all the time, the people that are on the magazine covers that's not really what they look like. So when we are trying as women to look like those images that are flashed before our eyes, thousands of times a day, if we're not careful, we will get so caught up in looking like, quote, everybody else, end quote, and that's really not what they look like. We're just digging ourselves in a hole. So, I think we have to stay true to ourselves, and we have to be happy with our body image. Do we need to be healthy? Of course we do. But just because, I don't look like Beyonce doesn't mean she's probably the one and only that really does look like her magazine covers. But you know what I'm saying? We just get so caught up in all of that. I'm Deborah. I can't be Beyonce. And when we are true to who we really are, we just, can excel in that. But I do think there's a time that we just have to grow into it. I know for me. So I also laugh and say that, I'm 29 forever. But, as the 30s and 40s have come along and 50s even, it has been wonderful to find that confidence that has exponentially grown into making me who I am, because everything is a process. It's a process. Right. And we have to embrace that process. I know for me, you have to embrace the process, because if you don't, then the optimism will just be chiseled away, and the next thing you know, you're full of pessimism, and that just doesn't bode well for anyone.
For sure. It's funny you should mention magazine covers, because even for this feature, you're going to be the feature of an upcoming issue of a magazine that I have the privilege to work with, Deborah, and you have definitely graced your share of covers. Do you still have your wow moments when it comes to that, when you see yourself on the cover of these magazines and you think about all the ways that you've been featured? I think about, when I was prepping for this segment, going back and remembering the cover of the book, The Secret to Winning Big, and there you are featured there. Do you still have those wow moments as to, again, going back to the journey, the things that has happened to you on this journey?
I do, and sometimes when I just get so busy in the day, I sort of forget about those things. In my office, I have the awards that I've won and the magazine covers, and you just sort of get so busy that you sort of forget that they're there. And then when I'm sitting at my desk, with my feet propped up, just thinking for a moment, I'm like, you know what? This is pretty cool. I would have never in a million years thought that I would be where I am now. I don't know exactly where I thought I would be, but if I look back at the accomplishments, it's like a wow moment. And I bet you that everybody would have a wow moment if they took a minute to think where their path has brought them and their successes. Everybody has a success.
For sure. That's it. And it's a great reminder for all of us to be able to keep with us, because I think, too, and that brings up another interesting question when you said that, Deborah, I think, realizing that everyone's path is different, right? I mean, was that also something that helped you to keep from comparing? I love the fact that you mentioned that earlier, but, I think the fact that your success is not going to be everyone else's success, and that's okay. I mean, is that also something that has helped you to kind of find peace with what Deborah is able to do?
Oh, absolutely. And I will say that success leaves some clues along the way. You can, we are avid readers, and so you read about the success of other people, and there are clues, there are nuggets of information. If I look back at the things that I have accomplished, there are clues of what worked and what didn't work. So somehow we have to learn not to go down a path that was not successful, but to learn from it and then take another path, and the next time you just get further on that continuum to that big point B. And I am all about a big point B. And here's the thing about it for me. That big point B keeps moving. So it is not a static position on the continuum, because every time, and I think this is the same for a lot of other people who are vibrant and who are optimistic, it's not a static point on that continuum. It moves. So every time I do something else, and I was like, gosh, that was so cool, that big point B moves out a little further, and it moves out a little further, because quite frankly, I don't think any of us arrive, because I think we get caught up sometimes in too much, well, if I can just do this, I will have arrived. If I could just do that, I will have arrived. Now, for me, I don't think there is an arrival point. I think it will continue to expand with life. And I think if we keep that into our mind, and everybody can keep that in their mind, that they are on that continuum. So in the meantime, I think it is just vital for every person that has breath left in them to continue on that, on their path, and encourage others along the way. And I'll tell you a quick story about a lady that was in one of my ladies' meetings. She was 80 years old. And when I was talking about success and being on our path, and there was a wide variety of ages in the room. There were 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I mean, there was such a wide variety of women, and I love that, because the older women have a lot to share. The younger women have a lot to share. So this 80-year-old lady, I noticed during the entire time I was speaking, she was crying. So I thought, my goodness, I hope I haven't said anything to upset her. So at the end of our time together, the line had formed to talk to me and to get hugs. I love hugs. When it came to her, she said, I just want to thank you for something. And I said, I noticed you were crying. What's on your mind today? Is there something I can help you with? And she said, no, you reminded me that even though I have moved into an assisted living facility, I thought life as I knew it was completely over. She had taught piano lessons her entire life to children. And she was so upset about moving into the assisted living facility that she would not be able to teach piano lessons anymore. And she said, during all the time that you were talking, it occurred to me, I have not changed. My gift has not changed. My contribution to society has not changed. It's my student that has changed. And I am going to continue to teach piano lessons. And guess who she's going to teach piano lessons to? The people in the assisted living facility.
Oh,
so she said, I had that moment that I realized that my life was indeed not over. And then by that time, I'm boo-hooing right along with her. So that is what it's all about. It's finding our spot, because things change. Things change. And if an 80-year-old woman, after she has taught piano lessons for however long, 60 years, if she can find a place to bloom where she is, then everybody listening to our voice can bloom in the spot they are.
There we go. What a great thing to share. Thank you so much for that, Deborah, because I think it's a great reminder for us, too, that we never know where opportunities will lie, and we never know what might be literally right in front of us, and it's taking advantage of those opportunities and being able to, again, as you said earlier, as we're kind of looking at our A and B, to think about those moments in between, and the people who can be a part of that with us. And then, of course, the people we're able to inspire along the way. Definitely work that you've been able to do. Again, everyone, Deborah Hightower has been our guest once again. Another great conversation with you, Deborah, as I knew it was going to be. We've been talking with her not only about her journey as a best-selling author, motivational speaker, as a recording artist, but also what it's been like for her to live a life on purpose and to be able to share that with other people that she's been around as well. So, of course, Deborah, we want people to be able to stay connected with you. Where's the best place for them to be able to find you and do that?
Oh, gosh, my website is DeborahHightower.com. My social media handles are at the Deborah High. So I want everybody to catch the Deborah High, the big smile, the big face, as my children like to say. And, that's what it is. Catch the Deborah High and live a life elevated, because I just don't think that God's purpose for us is to be crawling around on the ground pecking for leftovers. I believe that a life elevated means that we are to soar with the eagles and make impact on society and on people around us for the short time that we are here on this earth. And I just encourage everybody to follow me on social media. I do post little funnies along the way, but most of it is inspirational, because I think if we can just see that inspiration before our eyes in the morning and in the afternoon and midday when we need a little break, that's what you'll find on my pages. So at the Deborah High.
All right, Deborah, congratulations to you again on all the great things you've been involved in that you continue to do, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the time. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. You all make it a great one.